జాలరిమలలో అయ్యప్ప విగ్రహం చిక్కుకుంది. పూస్తే
Hello. 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 Anybody is there? Hello. బయటనాడు.
Hello. Yeah. Can you hear me? Hello. Can someone respond, please? Hello.
Sir, what do you want, sir?
Yeah, just want a feedback whether you're able to hear me.
Sir, you are audible, sir. You are audible. Yes, sir. You
Yeah.
are audible, sir.
Okay, I wanted that. There were some technical issues. Okay. I'll just start. I'll give you certain. We'll start off with rural communication. I think previous class, what did you have? Can someone please respond? Hello.
Sir, previous class was going on media management, sir.
Rural? Was it editing for the media or rural?
Sir, media management.
Media management. Okay. So I'll just give you an introduction because there's a lot of time. There was a technical issue. I hope my audio is clear. And if there's any problem, please do give me a feedback. Okay.
No, sir. You are audible and visible also, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And I am Satyapal Menon. I'm a senior journalist and also I'm faculty for, I've been a faculty for Telugu University and Rachna College of Journalism. That's my background. I've been asked to, explain about rural communication and editing for media. Maybe I'll start taking up now, since I missed out on the first class, I'll start with rural communication. Okay. If there are, I would like it to be more interactive, and if there are any questions, please do ask me. Okay, now we'll start off with what exactly is rural communication. Okay, there is one of the most important, components of development is rural communication. There has been a lot of communication gap between, the policymakers and the, rural sector. There's also a lot of communication gap between the labs and the lab and land, what we call as lab and land. And all this communication gap has been happening over the past many years, but then with the, inception of all these communication technologies, the communication gap is fast closing in. Okay, so why is it that we are talking about only rural communication? What is the actually crucial factor about rural communication? Okay, I'll just give you a few. I'll just go through all your topics that we are going to cover today, and maybe later we'll take up the entire subject. Okay. Now we are actually initially we have what is called as unit 1. We have objectives. Okay, and in objectives we we discuss about what exactly is the objective of rural communication. Is it just we talk about the kind of development that needs to be actually the lot of inputs that needs to be taken up by the agriculture sector, and how the socio-economic factors, how socio-economic changes could be brought about through constructive communication and through effective communication. So it is one of the today in India, because agriculture comprises of a major part of India's economy, but then agriculture sector is also of course lately it has improved a lot, but there's a lot of communication that needs to reach the agriculture sector. So as communicators, as journalists, as media professionals, you need to understand why it is important, why we need to actually create a kind of awareness in the rural sector, and kind of try to create a kind of consciousness in the rural, not only the rural sector, but also the communicators. Who comprises the communicators? Okay, the policymakers, the government, the bureaucrats, the politicians, the all these scientific and agriculture institutions, almost all these institutions, and the agriculture and the farmers, they are all stakeholders as far as the rural economy is concerned, as far as the rural ethos or environment is concerned. So there needs to be a lot of exchange of ideas, exchange of information between the communicators and the stakeholders. So this is why we are talking about rural communication. This is a very important subject, and it's good that Open University has taken up this subject as a very important part of the curricula. Okay, now we talk about objectives. The objective is to reach out to the rural sector, to also make rural sector participants of rural of not only rural development, but also the overall economic development, and also give them a voice to take their experiences, they take whatever their problems are, and try to understand the problems, and accordingly find solutions. Okay, it's not just that you come out with certain policies for the agriculture sector, and then the those who are the recipients of this communication, that is farmers, they may not be able to really understand the policies, or they may not be having access to the whatever assets or whatever resources are being developed. Okay, so these are all very important factors in rural economy, and one of the major aspects that you should remember is, in India, the rural sector is a very, very important, as I told you earlier, also very important component of the economy, and it has been neglected as far as in many ways, especially in terms of exchange of information. Of course, today you see a revolutionary changes as far as communication is concerned. Today, the rural sector has access to mobiles, has access to apps, has access to all kinds of communication. They can just open a mobile and find out how the weather is going to be, so that they can make plans. They get all these predictions on their apps, and also expert advice on their apps. Okay, and also the most important factor that is required for the rural media, rural sector, apart from, I'm only talking about the economic part. Okay, there's also social, because it's all interlinked. It's not just about economy, it's also about the social lifestyle and social system. Okay, it is all interlinked, but I'm just giving you a brief idea that the rural sector, the farmers today have access to information, have access to all kinds of information. Most important kind of information that they are having is the marketability of their produce, of their products, isn't it? There was a time when it was absolutely, they were in the dark about how to market the products, where to market the products, and what is the kind of price that they could fetch. all these aspects were, they were difficult to, they did not have access to this kind of information. Okay. Now the scenario is totally changed, but then there needs to be a lot more done in terms of communication. So you're studying to be good communicators, or you're studying to take up communication as a career, as a media career, and it is one of the most, I would say, fertile areas. Like there's a lot of scope as far as rural communication is concerned. Okay, and there are so many subjects that we talk about over a period of time. Now, the objective is to exchange information, disseminate information, try to make the rural participants more participative and communicative, so that they can have access to all the resources and all the information technologies, so that they can also talk about their own grievances, their own problems. They can communicate directly to a scientist to talk about their problems with the production, or the production cultivation, or the soil problems. So there are so many problems involved as far as farmers are concerned. Today you have that linkage where you can you have direct access to get information. So the farming sector does have the information. So how are we actually, there is a lot of scope, but then we also look into whether this scope for interaction with the farmers, by the policymakers, by the scientists, and also by the farmers themselves, with the policymakers and the scientists and the markets, whether this is going on effectively, or are there any strategies involved. So these are the things that we need to look at as far as objective is concerned. And next part we deal with us after this is just a basic introduction about the need for communication, okay, in rural areas. From your point of view, can anyone tell me what exactly is the status of communication, or how is it like? Whether do you think that the farmers are getting enough information, or do you think there's more to be done? Can you share some ideas? Anyone? Hello? Can anyone share some ideas about whether we are actually, as far as I'm talking about India, whether India has actually been able to, achieve results as far as rural communication is concerned, and as far as the rural communication facilitating development in rural areas. Do you think that it's happening? Anyone's got a rural background, or any experience? Can anyone share any of their experience? Hello? Audio is clear? Is my audio clear? Okay, anyway, I'll continue with the next one. Next chapter that will be dealing with is, after introduction, communication needs of rural India, and why there is a need for effective communication in rural India, and what is the result? What could be the possibilities and opportunities when the communication is effective, and whether there is proper information exchange with the farmers, or with the rural sector, or the rural populations. Okay, we'll be dealing with that as far as communication needs of rural India. Then we also talk about patterns of rural communication in the next chapter. That is, there are many patterns. There are technologies involved. There is traditional method of rural communication is involved. All this, we may think that because of the technologies, possibly the traditional rural communication might have faded away, or might have become extinct. But then it is traditional communication in rural areas is still a very strong, it has still got a very strong presence in rural India. They do have a lot of influence on the rural populations, on the rural people, and they have brought about a lot of social change, not just economic change, but also social change. Okay, the traditional media, we are talking about folk media and other traditional forms. Okay, this we'll talk about that, and then we are also we'll also discuss about interpersonal communication. What do you mean by interpersonal communication? Can anyone tell me? Hello, are you able to hear me, please? Hello.
Sir, you are audible, sir. Please continue, sir.
Yeah, okay. I'll just continue, but please say yes or no or something. Otherwise, I'm not sure whether whether the audio is disrupted or whether it is continuing. Okay. Now
Sir,
let us.
it is very
Yeah,
clear,
tell
sir.
me.
Please continue, sir.
Yeah, please. If there's any break, please do tell me at least. Okay. Now we are talking about interpersonal communication, and interpersonal communication also is a communication. Say, for example, extension workers come and describe certain technologies or certain methods of agriculture, farming, or all these aspects. So that involves a lot more interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication does also have in the rural scenario, you also have opinion leaders and so many people who talk to different villagers on different aspects. Okay, so yeah, tell me. Hello. Hello. Right. So we have what is called as interpersonal communication, which is why it is important as far as the rural populations are concerned or the rural India is concerned. Okay, we'll be discussing that in depth, and then we also discuss about the role of mass media. Okay, and what is mass media? That also I will explain to you and give you some very interesting examples of mass media and how they have been very successful in trying to create reforms and try to actually develop the rural economy and also give them information from time to time which is relevant to the farmers and also the rural families. Okay, so that we'll be talking about the role of mass media in rural development. Right, rural development, I mean, don't just think that it is only about the agriculture output. It's not just about how much produce. It's not just about agriculture technologies. It is not just about trying to produce more. It involves rural communication here. What we are dealing with involves a lot more other aspects related to the entire rural life, right from their social life, their lifestyles, their traditions, and their economic practices. All these are involved. Okay. Now, that is one area that we will be looking into. The other factors, the two-step flow of communication in rural this thing. So we will also talk about what exactly is the two-step flow of communication in rural India, and because there is direct communication and there are communication, which comes from one source, goes to another source, and the second source will give the information to the entire rural populace. Okay, how this kind of a process takes place. So that is the two-step flow we'll be discussing in detail. And we also have Directorate of Field Publicity, which is a department involved in giving a lot of publicity material and publicity information, means information related to rural development. Okay, they are it's a government organization. Okay, and we'll talk about how the department functions. That is the Directorate of Rural Publicity. And one of the most important subject is rural society and how communication operates in a rural system. Okay, what exactly do you mean by a rural society, and how do they communicate actually? You have to the communication also. If you think that okay, we can directly go there, talk to them, and that's it. It's not just that, or we can just communicate. We can say something. It's not just that. All this requires a lot of in-depth understanding of the rural landscape, the rural society. Then only you will be, and not only that, their lifestyle, their culture, their traditions, and also the most important fact is even their language, the dialect, the kind of language they speak. Suppose you take Telangana, you have a different kind of a dialect, and if you take Andhra, you have a different. So you need to understand how to effectively communicate. Suppose you are talking, you need to talk to the rural people in their own language, in the language that they understand. Talk, I mean, communicate. It's not just going having a conversation with them. You need to, even if you're communicating through radio or television or digital platforms or social media or newspapers, you need to actually communicate to the rural people. If your target audience is the rural segment, you should try to communicate to them in the language that they can understand, isn't it? Do you agree? So this is, and we'll see how the communication operates. Means, how do they communicate? What is their communication process? And what is their, everything there in a communication, all factors influences a communication, the social factors, the economic factors, the indigenous factors, also the all these factors influence a communication process, isn't it? Or what you communicate to the rural areas. Okay, so these are very important factors that I will be discussing with you from tomorrow. I just wanted to give you an idea about what exactly is rural communication. Please do ask questions. I would like you to all, be more interactive so that you become good communicators. Let it not be a one-way communication. Let us get into a kind of a question answer system where you can clarify your doubts, and I can also know that you are able to follow whatever is being explained. Any questions? Any questions, please? Yeah. Any questions? Say yes or no.
No, sir, please continue.
Yeah, no, I've actually concluded. Maybe I'll take up all this. These are the topics that you have. Okay. Do you have your syllabus with you and the notes with you?
Yes, sir. We receive your book, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So in that, I've just gone through the objectives. That is the content part of it. Okay, the first part, the content. I just discussed briefly about objectives, the introduction, the communication needs of rural India, patterns of rural communication, traditional and folk forms, mass media. These are your subjects. Okay, please say yes or no. Are you able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay, అంటే మీకు ఈ objectives of first part of the syllabus is objectives. అంటే మనం objectives గురించి మాట్లాడతాము. సెకండ్ ఏంటంటే ఇంట్రడక్షన్, అంటే జనరల్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్. నేను ఇప్పుడు మీకు ఒక జనరల్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ డిస్క్రైబ్ చేశాను. నెక్స్ట్ మీకు ఏంటంటే కమ్యూనికేషన్ నీడ్స్ ఆఫ్ రూరల్ ఇండియా. ఓకే, అది ఇదంతా మన టాపిక్స్ దట్ వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు డీల్ విత్ ఇన్ ద నెక్స్ట్ ఫాలోయింగ్ వీక్స్. ఓకే, ఫోర్త్ ఏంటంటే ప్యాటర్న్స్ ఆఫ్ రూరల్ కమ్యూనికేషన్, రైట్. ఫిఫ్త్ ఏంటంటే ఇంటర్పర్సనల్ కమ్యూనికేషన్. సిక్స్త్ ఏంటంటే ట్రెడిషనల్ అండ్ ఫోక్ ఫార్మ్స్. సెవెంత్ ఏంటంటే మాస్ మీడియా. ఇవంతా మనకి ఇవంతా వేరియస్ టాపిక్స్ దట్ వీ హ్యావ్. అండ్ ఇన్ ద ఫాలోయింగ్ వీక్స్, ఫాలోయింగ్ క్లాసెస్, దట్ ఈస్ టుమారో, విల్ start in detail all these topics. Okay with you?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so I'll conclude here, and maybe today we had a very short session also because of some technical issues, but tomorrow onwards we'll have some very interesting discussion, and you please do interact so that we can make it more interesting. Okay, and you can understand the subject better. Okay, this is a very important. It's a very important subject because మీరు ఎక్కడ అంటే as a media professional, or if you are working in any department in the government or anywhere, you need to understand the rural actually rural psychology, the rural landscape, and the entire aspect of rural economy. Okay, so these things are very important for your career. So this is one of the areas that has been ignored for many years, but Open University has really taken up the right subject, because ಈ subject మీకు వేరే universities లో కానీ అక్కడ to the best of my knowledge, ఈ subject is something of a new subject. Okay, so this is what we'll be discussing about, and thanks for being with me and listening patiently to whatever explanation is being given. So tomorrow we'll start subject wise. That's okay with you? Okay, and I'll be
Okay, thank you, sir.
what is that? Hello?
Okay, sir, we will continue.
Yeah, okay, we'll continue tomorrow, and we'll meet at around 12:30 tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah.